Self-love has always been something very interesting to me, something I felt I needed and was definitely missing. But the process to accomplish it remained very much a mystery. I read about it, I imagined it, I recognized it in other people, but I wanted it for myself. I wanted the relief of not having to constantly battle with my own inner issues. I wanted growth, to live my best life, and I wanted to be the best me. A life where I could fully love and accept myself. In this pursuit of self-love, my main two goals were to raise my self-esteem and raise my self-awareness. Hence, the Remani Love Project was born, and I set out to speak and share the experiences of a range of women to not only encourage myself, but others, that we're not alone in undertaking this beautiful yet challenging journey.
Self-love. I think very much an appreciation of who you are. I think within that there's knowledge of what makes you the person you are. So I would then acknowledge an understanding of my ancestry, the positive things about them, my socialization. I grew up in a village, what we call a district in Jamaica, where it was very much about the village raising the child. So I come from a line of very strong women, great-grandmother as the matriarch. And within that, there was I would say a total love. Yeah. You learn to read from the Bible, and at school there was an expectation. I don't think I ever came less than third in the class, because there was an expectation from being brought up. I'm a generation that was brought up with my grandparents. So with all of that, yeah, there were the men in the village, and I'll give you an example of where the self-love comes from. My grandmother would get me to go and do this shopping on a Friday. And by this time I'm about 9. And she would tell me what she wanted, and I would do the list, and I had to add it up. When I got to the shop, Miss Ivy would be around the counter with a pencil behind her ear. There would be a group of men in the corner playing dominoes. As Miss Ivy took the pound of flour, quarter pound of saltfish, and etc., half a pound of sugar, and all the rest of it, she would then add up what I'd ordered. The men would stop to listen to see whether what I said I added up was the same as Miss Ivy did. And when it was, but the pitney right, you know, the men would give me a threepence in those days or whatever. The positive reinforcement and all of that. I grew up feeling very loved. Yeah. So when I think of that, I am going back now 50 odd years. I smile about it because it is that thing that everybody that created my self-love. So I think for me, it is about the input in your life and how they made you feel. We concerts at church, because everything revolved around the two churches. Church of God, which was my grandmother's, but Baptist was my great-grandmother's. So I went to both. And my grandmother would be sitting very proud because I would recite, you know. And I suppose recitation is like poetry, yeah? You would learn it in that. Now the pride that came from them, you know, again reinforced. And people in the district would see you and said, when you said, of course, good morning or good afternoon, and they would say, yes, it's Ina Pitney, you know, mother da England, you know, Miss Ruth Grand Pitney. That is the type of thing. So my self-love came from all of that. I have always felt, in a way, quite sad for a lot of the generation of young black children who were born here. Yeah? Because while we very much lived in a society that was by no means perfect, but somehow you were not touched in your districts, in your village that you grew up, by some of the things that happen in the wider world. You were very much protected. So it gave you time to be children and to be loved. And you may not have had running water and all the rest of it. But really, you know, they were very relative in terms of what we see as progress. Coming here and seeing the young children who did not see anybody in their likeness in positions of power. I did not understand when they were talking about black children underachievement, and there was this thing about education. I just did not know where that came from, because everybody in Jamaica, as far as I know, from growing up, and I left at 17, so I was quite old when I came here, was very much one of education. It didn't matter whether your grandparents could read or write, but for them, education was the most important thing. So when coming here and hear them talking about ESN and black children being labeled in that, to me, informed me about something that was very endemic in the society, and that was racism. One of the sad things about it is that the type of cohesive communities that we came from, where everybody knew everybody. When you come to big cities and in strange lands, people moving, the migrant labor system means that we're all over the place. We started to lose that togetherness. What's happening is the isolation of people from their communities and from the norms and values of their communities mean that you get this type of thing where people are no longer connected, yeah? And this disconnect that has taken place has led to the feeling of young people thinking about lack of love for themselves. I am not saying that people didn't have problems, but there was always Miss Jane or Mas Joe or somebody like that to go and talk to, or who would advise a young couple, you know, what to do, yeah? Or help a young girl who happened to have had a baby at a time when they should have. But there would be somebody that she would be told off, but there would be somebody that would say, pick up and say, come, let me show you how to do this.
It's love.